And welcome to another episode here of Phoenix Rising Live, my second of the day. And this will be an ongoing theme, two per day. Why not? Why not keep the content flowing? Why not utilize the Facebook algorithms to reach more people and impact the world in a greater way? That's our ultimate mission here. It's not just to relax on sunny beaches, although for some, perhaps that's all they need to experience in this life at this time. However, for the most part, for most of us, particularly those in this fifth dimensional consciousness, this soul evolutionary process, we are here to support and love one another. And that's really the goal of what this is all about: helping one another grow, guiding one another, supporting one another, joining hand in hand. And let's see, as I have this hand in hand, well, here we are. Someone's joined my room, but if I let them in now, they might not know what the heck's going on. So I'd love to have them join, and perhaps I'll open it up to random people coming on in the future. But it'll probably be pre-organized at the very least, simply for efficiency, because that's really what the topic of today is all about. Letting go of resisting your natural self allows you to become more efficient, more effective, more connected to the moment, and allowing yourself to embrace all the synchronicities that are here for you. Because life is indeed here for you. However, if someone is not adhering to these natural laws, so to speak, which is actually impossible because you're always operating within this natural system of existence. So you're always operating with your natural self. It's just a matter of what's the level of awareness that you have in regards to that. The idea of just being conscious to what's happening, being conscious to the present moment, being conscious to who you are, being conscious to what your passion is. Think of a child, a little baby, or a young child, and assuming they're in a supportive environment with loving parents that are able to provide for them, that child is simply being provided for. It may not have any conscious awareness, however. It's happy though. It's being provided with what it needs: food at the right time, shelter, oxygen, water, mother's milk, if it's super young. So the idea here is that we're all like these little children inside of our own consciousness, inside of our own existence. Everything is being provided for us. And when I talk about your natural self, what does that mean? Because you're multi-dimensional. So this physical form is just an aspect of the total self. And as your consciousness elevates into higher levels of awareness, you recognize that you also have mental self, emotional self, the non-physical self beyond any of that. You have a higher self, a higher mind, connected into a soul, and beyond and beyond and beyond. So what's relevant to be known for you is simply that your higher self, your natural self, your whole self is here to support your growth. It's here to support your evolution. So what would you prefer? Would you prefer to live in resistance to that? Or would you prefer to open up and to love life from a greater perspective, a more holistic point of view? Surrendering to your natural self allows the doors to open, allows you to draw in the people that you're meant to meet, the people that you're meant to be with in business, in your personal life, in whatever way is most relevant for you. And personal story here, personal reflection, is in the dating journey that I've been on, online dating, noticing over the past several months, how it's evolved. And everything we experience in life is an evolution of our own consciousness, our soul growth, what we're ready to handle, what we're maturing into, the different lessons that we need to learn along the way. So when I first started, there was a lot of activity and a lot of connections, a lot of conversations, and it wasn't necessarily the highest quality of people. It was a large variety, all interesting people in their own right, but definitely not the perfect matches. And that was experienced to various degrees on my end. Some very short-lived, some a little bit longer, nothing to any lengthy extent. And then there was a period of silence, I suppose you could call it, where it was about inner reflection for me. And then in the last 48 hours, 2 new connections, which are like extraordinarily high caliber, well accomplished, high vibrational, highly respectable. And it's interesting because along this journey, and this is so relevant because it's a real life example and we're all going through this in our own unique way. There was a point when I was having that period of silence or dry period where I was wondering if there was something wrong with my profile, something wrong with my picture. Is it not complete enough? And of course, that doesn't really make sense because it was the same profile I was using initially that got me a whole bunch of feedback and connections. So I just put it aside and took it as a venture in new timing and self-reflection, as I said. And now to see the quality of people that I am attracting is quite astonishing, and it's quite amazing and awesome. And it's not that we doubt our self-worth. Well, actually, that's not true because many of us do, but it's not that I was in a position of doubting my self-worth, but when it actually begins to manifest and you actually begin to see it unfolding, and you see that reflected in the people around you, you see that reflected in the quality of conversations reflected around you, whether it's business or personal or what have you. And it's simply proof that you're on the right track. It's nothing to be arrogant about or egotistical about or think how amazing you are that you manifested this. That's not really how it works. It's simply an indicator that you're reflecting back to yourself your own self-love, your own self-worth. And so consider that. How much are you loving yourself? And you're not depending on the world to show you that, but you use it as a guidance system, just like the signs on the road. There's not always a sign there. So when you're traveling down the road, you have a natural intuition that I'm moving in the right direction. And then occasionally you see a sign that confirms that, or occasionally you see a sign that says, whoa, wait a sec, I'm going in the wrong direction. Why doesn't this look like the same way I came? And it's just part of the venture, the adventure. So letting go of resisting your natural self means accepting what you've created, what you're experiencing, the quality of people, and how are you responding to those people. In general, the higher your vibration, the easier it is to get along with these new people that you're attracting into your life. They don't require as much work or effort. And even the ones that may have seemed like they would have given you a challenge in the past, you're able to navigate those more easily, those communications, those relationships more easily, because you can see more clearly how to go about them, because you're living with a more enlightened mindset, a more enlightened point of view. You can see with the lights on, things are more obvious, how to handle things harmoniously. And where you thought maybe you needed to get involved in the past, you no longer do. You can just relax. Everything's going to sort itself out anyway. And if someone's not happy with how you're responding, maybe you're not responding quickly enough or in the way you wanted them to, or in the way they wanted you to, that's okay. You then have the opportunity to respond to that without being defensive, Just being honest. How would I prefer to respond to this? How can I take responsibility for what I have created in my life? You can't really get more of what you don't want. And in some respects, you can't really get more of what you do want. Think about the idea that you always have exactly what you need in this life. And when you want what you need, when that synergistically arrives as your only obvious choice in life, I want what I need, then you're always in the right place at the right time. That's when you're no longer resisting your life. If you think about the idea of Buddhism, and the idea of suffering comes from attachment to things, to wants, desires, wanting things to be different than they are. When you want something to be different than it is, it doesn't feel good. When you accept that it is what it is and you embrace it, and then you work with it from that standpoint, then it can evolve naturally. So you're not manifesting bad luck ever. You're not manifesting things you don't want. You're manifesting things that you need to experience always for your growth, always. And if you're not satisfied with that, if you're wondering, well, why did I create this? Well, you just look at that. You don't create more of it by looking at it. You dispel it by looking at it. From a higher level of consciousness, you can't solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. And if you're noticing an ongoing pattern, what can I do to let go of this? How's it serving me? And so simply by observing with your mind, with your consciousness, it evolves. You're not even doing anything. You're just looking at it. You're observing it lightly from a light perspective. Don't get into the analysis of it. Not like a why me? Why did I create this? Not like that. It's like, what am I doing to create this? What do I believe is true about myself to manifest something like this? And if you get down to the core beliefs about yourself and you observe them and you look at them and you realize that you've been hanging on to negative beliefs and you realize that they don't make sense any longer, then they dispel. Then they're gone. You don't have to avoid them. You don't have to avoid negative vibrations. You don't have to avoid the things you don't want. You simply observe them. And why is it something that I don't want anyway? And why is there something that I do want? So consider this with as much intention as you wish to move on with your life, because this is your life. This is your own game of Olympics where every moment counts. And it's not about not screwing it up or not failing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying you get the most out of every moment. What do I want this moment to evolve into? What does it need to evolve into? Where does it go from here? Where does my life go from here? Why do I know that I can open the door to greater possibility and more positivity? Why do I know that everything that shows up in my life is here to serve a positive purpose? That's what you want. That's what you need. Everything to serve you in a positive way. When you arrive at that destination, it doesn't matter what comes. And every experience is unique, and it may not be what you expect or assume it to be. And it may trigger you. It may bring up uncomfortable feelings, but who cares? Because then you'll have time to process it and realize what purpose it was there to serve you in a positive way. And more naturally, you recognize the vibrations that you're most aligned with. Learning through contrast, if you will. And so there's no reason to beat yourself up when you're experiencing things that you don't prefer, because it's simply helping you to align with the things that you do prefer. That's your natural state. Going through the process is your natural self. Letting go of resisting what is happening in your life is the natural process. So move forward boldly, with confidence, with certainty. This is your life. You created it. You're the artist. No one else has anything to do with it. They're just the characters. And if they're saying something that annoys you or bothers you or upsets you, look at yourself. Why did I put them there? I had an experience yesterday that I was speaking about on a previous episode. And the idea of speaking with someone who was from my past, and clearly their vibrations no longer aligned with mine. And then today I had a contrasting experience on the polar opposite, where I realized the quality of people in my life and the types of people that I align with are nothing like that person. So I was trying to fit this person into my life, thinking somehow we could support one another, somehow what I'm doing could benefit his network or vice versa. But it's just not a vibrational match. And then I got the proof and evidence as to why that is. It's because my frequency is beyond anything that he can conceive. But humanity and people in general and human psychology, it's like cognitive dissonance. It doesn't know what to do with something that's unknown. So rather than say, yeah, there's a greater possibility out there for me, most of the time they just acquiesce to their perspectives and why they're right. And if you buy into that, it feels very dense and heavy. If you realize that they're full of nonsense, you can be respectful simultaneously, but it has nothing to do with you. And if you ever find yourself in a conversation like that, feel free to end it, because what's the point? I mean, most of your conversations these days are on Zoom anyhow. Just say, well, I thought there might be some alignment here, but it looks like there probably isn't. Maybe there never will be. Maybe there will. It doesn't matter, because what I'm doing is, this is it. And if it ever becomes apparent that we can support one another, then let's definitely reconnect. But for now, let's end this call. You can just do that. Because if they're not at your level of consciousness, of your vibration, and someone tuning in that doesn't understand this conversation might think that sounds awfully arrogant, not at your level. But that's not what I'm talking about either. It's just, there's clearly different levels of awareness. There's clearly different levels of freedom that people are living at. And when people get so hard in their convictions about life and the way things need to be in order to be successful, they're in a jail cell and they don't even know it. And that's what humanity is awakening from now. And a smaller percentage of people are on the leading edge. However, maybe that's not the case. Maybe as you align with the version of reality that you prefer, the version of Earth that is to your preference, you realize that more and more people are on this vibration. And that's really what it's all about, to recognize it's got nothing to do with the external world, but the external world can reflect to you what you're vibrating at, particularly how are you responding to the people around you or the circumstances around you. So take it to heart. Let go of resisting your natural self. Accept what is. Allow everything to serve a positive purpose for you. Step into your power. Your power is all around you. Your power is your life. No one else has more power or authority than you, and you never have to acquiesce. You never have to bow your head. You don't have to be disrespectful either. Just be you. And happiness becomes eternal. It always has been. Now you're aware of it. So thank you for tuning in. Join me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the Phoenix Rising Masterclass. You can register at phoenixrisingmasterclass.com. I look forward to seeing you there and leading another amazing class. It's always marvelous. And I look forward to seeing as many people there that need to be there, because it's always an exquisite, ecstatic, explosive experience of consciousness. And it's a pleasure for me to share my gifts with all of you. So thank you for tuning in. Much love and appreciation, and see you next time.